This lens isn't for everyone, but if you're looking for macro, this is the best lens I've ever used for that specific purpose. It has a lot of features that you might expect on a Sony G lens that's E-mount, it's full frame, or at least it's designed for full frame. You could use adapters and all that stuff, but it works brilliantly on my A7 IV. And a couple of things I like about it. The one that I find myself enjoying the most with macro, sometimes autofocus is fine, but I usually go with manual. And the switch on this lens, it's just here. So if you want to drop to manual focus really quick, you've already got your hand on the barrel, you can just pop it down like that, and then the adjuster is really nice and smooth. And when you're adjusting focus, you've also got a ring here to adjust your magnification. So you can adjust those independently. Other than that, on the side, you've got a lever for switching. Do you want to autofocus from basically close to far, only far, or the full distance if you're doing autofocusing? And on the bottom is some image stabilization or steady shot. And it also has a AFL button you can program using your camera. If you have a Sony camera, you can program this to do whatever you want. When I shoot macro, I usually I have this adjusting to autofocus, so I do back button focusing, or I use this to do it, so I can keep my hand on the lens more, because a lot of times I'm just moving closer to the subject like this. Um, here's some photos. Here's some photos that I've taken with this lens. I'm not the best photographer in the world, but I love shooting macro. And this lens captures really crisp, really sharp images. It's a 90 millimeter f2.8. For macro, I don't want to shoot at 2.8. I usually start at 5.6 and go up from there, because that depth of field gets so razor thin at 2.8. It's almost impossible unless you're focus stacking. But at 90 millimeters, I use this for a portrait lens as well, because it captures such crisp images. I've used it for long distance photography, and it does a great job at that as well. Just totally skipping over the fact that it has this extreme close focusing distance. So for a Sony full frame, this lens, again, isn't for everyone. It's really something that you would get if you want to shoot up close. I've done video, which I've done video and photos, and it's some of the most favorite photos that I've taken, just because you can capture so much detail with this lens. So I think it's great to have. It's not one that I use every day. It's not one that's in my everyday carry, but especially when I'm kind of stuck at home and I can't think of what to do, this is really easy to pull out and do some close-up shots of insects, coins, things you touch every day. So much fun using this lens. And if you're in the market for a close-up macro lens, this gets my recommendation every time. I would try and convince you to move to Sony camera systems just to use this lens. I think it's the best macro lens on the market.